it 6 o'clock?
Yes.
It's 6 o'clock.
Good evening. It is 6 p.m. Wednesday, November the 18th, and the meeting of the Prince George's County Cable Television Commission is hereby called to order. I am Tom McLeod, your chair.
Doris McMillan.
Mike Thompson.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming out. We'll move right into the agenda. The first item on the agenda is the approval of minutes from the October 28th, 2015 meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
I move that the minutes be approved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. The next agenda item are the action items.
There are two action items to review. The first action item in response to Commissioner Thompson's question in regards to why Comcast's outstanding call for Mr. Simmons was placed on hold until September 21st, 2015. Comcast's technical supervisor stated that the hold was due to a budget concern. So that takes care of that. And also, in regards to Mr. Kirksey, requested information on what section within the Prince George's County code and the density requirement, also and the extension of cable television services to residents. We provided him that information, and he was satisfied, with that.
Thank you.
That's it. That's the two action items.
Any questions, comments? Okay. Monthly reports.
Okay. All right. For the month of October 2015, for Verizon, we have 10 open calls, and then we have 9 closed calls, and there's 1 suspended. For Comcast, we have 9 open calls, and we also have 7 closed calls and 1 outstanding, as well as 1 suspended. I'm going to start with the outstanding calls with Comcast, and that's with Reggie Simmons. We addressed that last month. As of today, that issue has been resolved, but I can go ahead and
Say it has been resolved?
Right, as of today, right, that issue has been resolved. But if you want me to go over, do I still have to go over?
Do we need to do that?
Yeah, the issue has been, resolved. So,
You don't need to go.
okay. Okay. And then for Comcast, there are no open calls. That's it for my report.
Thank you. Questions from the commission? Comments? If not, thank you. We'll keep moving on the agenda to our next item is the Trinity Television of Prince George's County report.
The report stands as submitted. There have been no changes to the report.
Thank you. Questions, comments on the report? And already we have arrived at the next agenda item, which is public comment.
Yeah, we have Miss President of the Crown Media's name is Morales Trotter?
Basil.
Basil Trotter. Okay, I'm sorry, I read that wrong. Okay. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Basil Trotter, the president of the Grand Meadows Homeowners Association, located in Forestville, Maryland. We have over 309 townhomes. Recently, the other member is Serena Charles, and she has been contacting the Comcast and Verizon. We have many boxes in our community that the boxes are down, and a week and a half ago, myself and her, we went around and we took some of the pictures, and
These are the
hopefully we will be
pictures.
able to get some of those boxes corrected. Now, some of the boxes we did notice have a number on it, so we could identify. And then there are some boxes in the community that did not have identification, so we really did not know which one was Comcast or Verizon. So with this meeting, hopefully we will get some of those issues resolved. And Ms. Charles will.
I started with November the 4th, writing to the Cable Commission regarding the putting in an order for Verizon and Comcast, because we didn't know which boxes it belonged to. And I found out, they keep telling me, they call me, they said they're coming out, they're fixing it. I haven't seen anything as yet. But it poses a very serious issue in our community, because I am concerned that our development could be sued, and the cable company as well could be sued, because the wires are exposed. A small child playing in the backyard, foot could go in. And I told them it was an urgent request, and I continue to speak with them about this. It's a serious safety hazard.
How many of the boxes look like
I would say.
Give you the addresses, and if you have
Yeah.
a copy of this, these are all the addresses.
Addresses.
And there are 4 boxes behind
Each
townhouse.
townhouse.
And this one is one of them.
Yes, yes.
Take this track.
One second.
Oh, you want to see it?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just postponing this too much. That's what they look like. It's a video. I didn't know how to do the picture.
You provided us with the copy of those.
Of the pictures.
Right, yes, you did.
You want to pass it around?
Does anybody else need
You want
to
to
see
see
it? Thank you.
Thank you. So hopefully we will get some answers tonight and give us, so we can take it back to the residents. Thank you very much.
Thank you for bringing it to our attention, and staff will be following up, and we'll get back to you with a response in a timely manner, hopefully.
Do you have this?
So we've already opened up a
Yes.
trouble ticket
Okay.
for the complaint, both with Verizon and with Comcast. And so it sounds now like the urgency is heightened, and the complaint is that no response has been given from, other than the phone calls. There's been no direct.
Well, last week I did see 2 guys that I spoke with. They were from Comcast.
Okay.
I believe they have started, but I still see some, like I said, I don't know which boxes is Comcast and Verizon. So I did speak with 2 of the guys, and they said they was working. But I have 3 boxes behind my house, and one of them he did fix. And of course I did not go back to check, not at all, with everything. But as you can see with that, the photo that you've seen, they are in very bad condition.
And how long have we been in that?
Quite a while, sir. Quite a while.
But you started sending out the mails around November, is that correct?
I said November the 4th, I started. What happened was the reason how it all started was behind my house, the 3620, there was a box that somebody had a cable wire that was doing illegal cable wiring into my house. So when I found out that, I called them and they fixed mine. So I said there's other boxes in the neighborhood that needs to be fixed as well. And I didn't know to the extent how bad it was until we decided to do this in a whole development, because we have 300 townhouses and we had to walk that
It took us 2 hours to do that.
2 hours to take pictures, write down the box. And I would like to bring to the attention of the commission is that as a Prince George's County resident, it was very difficult to figure out how the procedure worked, because there's no identifying number or phone number on these boxes, so a homeowner doesn't know which one it is. And it's time consuming to figure out how to do this, because I had to end up going to the 311 number, and that's how I found out about this cable commission. But there's no it's not easy access for information in this county regarding these boxes. And my neighborhood is having this. I think a lot of the county is being exposed to this, and nobody's really addressing this issue. And this is a money issue because a lot of people, we pay a lot of money for cable, and we need better service.
And there's no identification of your bills that you receive?
Well, I rent my townhouse over there, but she lives in our development. But if you go to your box, because our development is about 20-something years.
28 years.
Yeah, and if you look on the box, there's no like number to call. And I think we do need this number on these boxes.
Do all of the boxes have
Identification number?
number?
No, and there's no telephone or say this is a Comcast box or a Verizon box for the public to be aware, oh, I gotta call this number, tell them something's wrong with their box. And I think that we need to address a maintenance issue with these boxes. Are you servicing us to fix these boxes on a regular basis? Or you're just gonna collect the money and not come and service us?
Yeah, so there's nowhere on the box, no fine print, nothing whatsoever there that you can
I
reference.
can show you right in this
No,
picture.
I understand that. I'm just saying
If you
this.
see this box, there's nothing.
Nothing there. There should be something
Well,
there.
now they know.
Yes, they have to because it's part of their fixed asset and there must be a reference number that they themselves will be able to, identify in their office and also in their system.
Well, maybe because we are not opening the boxes.
No, you don't have to open the boxes anyway.
But we-
There should be something there for,
We-
it's like
we-
when you are driving your car, there must be something that somebody can pick up. You said you saw two gentlemen fixing the boxes.
From Comcast, that was.
Comcast.
But, probably at least last week.
Okay, I
When we
understand.
opened the ticket last week,
Right.
I mean.
Did they accept that all the boxes belong to Comcast? Or
No, they do not.
only those ones
No.
that they were fixed?
Right.
They have Verizon, Comcast, and there's something called broadband. There's another box we don't even know. There's one box that says broadband. We haven't even addressed broadband.
So, I don't know, it's-
So, really quickly, I wanted you to know that first of all that the boxes, and it seems like you already know this, are not owned by the county, but they are owned by the telecom
Yeah.
company. And what the county does on behalf of the residents is that we do perform random audits. And so we go out and we go in various communities and we do look for these types of things. But it is random. And so when we do find them, we do actually contact both Comcast and Verizon and have them go out to the communities and address them. So it sounds like you've done a lot of work to collect the addresses, and so we'll continue to follow up. And there's also a representative in the back, both from Comcast and from Verizon.
okay.
Yeah, who also can speak to you perhaps offline after the meeting to just kind of address the labeling issue that you're talking about. Okay, and then whenever there's an issue for the residents, be it with Comcast or Verizon, 311 is a resource, as well as the county's website, which would lead you to our cable commission services that we provide to the county. And it has there's a form on there that you can fill out there. There's also a direct line that if you call, someone will answer to assist you as well.
Well, whoever made this brochure was very informative. This brochure leads you to everything.
I don't know where that came.
It's called Homeowners Code Enforcement. Tells you how
Oh,
you-
DPI, Department of Permits, Inspections, and Enforcement, right. But if you were to go to the county's website, there is a link there that would lead you to the Cable Commission.
And this is how I got the information about the cable company.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how I got your complaint, through the 311. Right, okay.
Again, thank you for bringing it to us,
Thank you.
and we will follow up with you.
Thank you so much for taking your time to listen.
Certainly.
So we will start tomorrow.
I'm going to follow up
Okay,
with
we-
Comcast, yes.
Since we know your face, so we got your number.
She's gonna be your new best friend.
She has been very helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks again. Okay, is there any other public comment? Anyone else? Yes, sir.
My name is Daryl Austin, and I live in the Simmons Acres community of Accokeek, Maryland. And recently we have Verizon show up, and they're installing files, I guess. My first question is, are they required to inform us that they're doing this? Secondly, why did my house, my property, get picked for them to put that box on my property? I've done a little research. I'm no attorney or none of that. I know I filed a complaint. I believe you got it. Verizon came out. I called Verizon directly. They came out Saturday morning to say they can't do anything. The contractors who are installing, they say they got this plat to show them to put it there. I'm like, well, who makes that determination? I'm not getting any response to that. They put the hole in my yard, exactly 2 holes. I already got the big electric box. I got another box that says on it, it's a skinny box, that already says Verizon, that's been there. I've been there for 15 years, new development. Now they put in another box. I recently, the week before that, I had my irrigation system shut down. Well, I have to pay for that. Now I gotta get the guy to come back out here, turn it back on so I can make sure that they didn't damage anything, and pay him to take it off again. I'm pissed. I called, Verizon came out there twice. Second time they came out, the guy says, look, you tell me what you want to do. I told him I don't want it in my yard. He said he went and got the contractors, because they were still in the neighborhood. They magically disappeared. Wires are hanging out of some people's yards. All right? So it looks as though they stopped work. The second guy that came out said he got the contractor to come up to my property. This is what he told me. They started to digging it to move the box. I said, fill my hole back. I don't want it on my property. They were moving it over. They said my neighbor come running out of the house, said, hey, stop digging in my yard. And he got on his wireless phone and called somebody that apparently called them and told them to stop. So why did I get chose for it to be put in my yard? And I already got the big electric box that I can't put a bush in front of to kind of disguise it because of the way they put it. There's no room. I can't plant a bush on the concrete, the sidewalk. I don't know what to do. I'm pissed. I pay an awful lot of taxes to live where I live, and I at least expect to be informed, or I don't want files. And again, I'm going on hearsay. Neither does any of my neighbors in the cul-de-sac want it. So why are they putting it in there? I was told they had to go through the county of Accokeek first, and then the homeowners association. Well, I wasn't able to attend our last homeowners association meeting, but one of my neighbors was, and they brought up the question to them, and they said that they didn't know anything. Verizon, they didn't have any communication with Verizon to come into our development and install this. So I like to know why my lot was chosen. Number 2, first of all, do we get notified? Are they required to notify the residents first? Because if they do, they did a piss poor job of it. Because I didn't receive any written communication, no knock on the door or anything. I came home one evening to see Miss Utility has been there. So I called, inquiring what's going on. I noticed, the flags and all, and they said, well, we're marking the power lines. And I said, why? They couldn't tell me anything. So the next day or two, I get home, it's after 7, I'm a late worker, and I see they started digging. And I'm like, well, who is it? Who's doing the digging? Found out that it was Verizon. So that's what I called, left a message on the commission line that night, and I called Verizon directly and left a message. They came out that Saturday morning. I said, well, nothing we could do. I guess one of their technicians. He said he came out to figure out, what problem I was having with my service. I don't have no service. So they're not even, organized with what they're doing. Because I specifically complained about the digging in my yard and why my yard was being chosen to put this thing. Right now, it's the flat cover. It's flat. They dig in 2 places. There's a big one about the width of this chair, and then there's a little one about a foot on the other side of my lot. I've since found out or been told, because I don't know what to believe, that when they finish this big thing that's supposed to be flat with my land and my grass can kind of grow and kind of like what my irrigation is under, that's not going to be there. They're going to put that bubble thing there. So now this thing going to be sticking up out of my yard.
And you said you've been in touch with the office staff?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
we filed it.
That's how I knew about this meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, I filed it.
And I appreciate that. Your office commission was on point. I was surprised. I got a response, I got email
Yeah.
and everything.
They do good.
I'll say this, my complaints were being acknowledged immediately on all aspects with the commission and with Verizon. But with Verizon, I'm not getting satisfaction or answers to what are they required to do? Do they just pick and say, oh yeah, we're gonna sneak in here and run this now? I don't want fires. I don't want that in my yard.
Once again, we've got a representative from Verizon here, so perhaps after the meeting, you might talk offline and see what we might be able to accomplish that way first. And then if not,
But something needs to be made public. If they're supposed to notify you of this, we need to know. I mean, I'm quite sure any of us will come home and find a hole in their yard, and then, let alone I have an irrigation system, because that was the first thing I was like, oh, God, daggone it. I hope they didn't hit any of the heads or cut the pipe, because when am I going to find that out? Next spring. And they're going to be long gone.
okay, Mr. Lawson, thank you again for bringing it to the commission to our attention. And again, we do have a representative here. And after the meeting, perhaps you can have a conversation,
Okay.
get some clarification on what's happening. And of course, staff will be following up as well.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Next, we have Mr. Alfonso Kexit.
Yes, good evening. I'm here just following up with my previous stated complaint. Comcast, since the last meeting, I received a call from Mr. Corey.
Corey Allen.
Yes, and he had stated that they were going to do what they could do to try to cut costs or whatever and to get the job done. And since then I heard from Becky Baker from the construction department, and she stated that yes, ever since we did build a substation, footage was wrong, so it's not actually 12 or 1300 feet, it's like 600 or 700 feet. And but since then our a rate hike went up, and so your contribution is going to be $2,000 or $2,100 or something of that nature. And how would you like to set this up? How would you like to set this up so we can get this done? And I just stated, slow down, Ms. Baker. First things first. I also mentioned, okay, that's one thing, I'm going to get back to that, but also I needed to know, I was asking you about the density requirements as far as the franchise agreement. Oh, well, that doesn't play a part. I said I have to beg to differ, Ms. Baker. I think there's a miss here. And you don't have that many houses in your neighborhood. I said, no, that's not true either, Ms. Baker. I said, it sounds like you might need to go back and do a little bit more research because we're at odds here. And second of all, you're asking me for $2,000. You were asking me for $1,800 last year, and you just acknowledged the fact that there's several hundred feet less footage of cable that needs to be ran. And how does your prices, like I was just explaining, it's almost like it's buying a barrel of oil. If your prices fluctuate, there isn't any regulations on prices, hikes, or with their construction or what, So I said, this doesn't sound like something that I just want to jump into. It just sounds, you said, Corey told me he was going to see how he could cut costs. All you're doing, presenting to me now, is what you should have presented to me the first time. Somebody didn't do their due diligence. Just as I stated the first time, I said, how am I supposed to know that the footage that you're telling me now is correct, opposed to what you told me the last time? And then so sure enough, I guess somebody finally went out, and then and sure enough, the footage was wrong. And so now you're still asking me for more. There's no cost that has been cut. What you're doing now is what you should have did the first time.
So where do things stand now?
I'm waiting to hear back. I've made calls to Mr. Corey. I called him today. I called him yesterday. I called him last week. She called me on the 28th of October with that, and I've called him for the last 2 weeks, and I haven't heard back from him yet. So I just wanted to, because when I talked to Ms. Baker, it just seems like all she does is disseminate information. There's no resolution with her. It's almost like she's reading a script, and she just keeps repeating it. And that's why I say, I'm going to give you some time to look into this, and I'd appreciate it if you just got back with me. Meanwhile, I didn't really expect anything from her. I went and started calling Corey back, and from executive relations, and haven't heard back from him yet. And the young lady that was here the last meeting, I never did hear from her. And then she expressed that she was going to reach out to me. And then when you don't, there should be an assertiveness, I believe, or some type of accountability. The onus was on her. So I'm not going to. That to me already points that you're not very interested in dealing with this situation. That's just how I deal with things. So I didn't hear from her, so I just didn't even go down that road.
You talking about Ms. Brown?
Yes, she's talking about Carmen.
Yeah, I never heard from her.
Okay, so it sounds like you've got some things in motion at this point, and you still need to hear back from the executive service.
Yeah.
If you keep us appraised, we're still in the loop. So we want to stay with you till the end of this to see where it comes out, and hopefully not have it extended for so long that you decide you don't want the service after all.
Right, and it sounds to me that it needs to be made clear to Ms. Baker or whomever is passing this information along. Because again, all she's doing is repeating. It's obvious. She's just repeating information of whatever's being told her. So somebody needs to make somebody clear as to what the density requirements are and follow through with.
Yes.
Okay, so I apologize that Carmen didn't get back to you. I'll reach out to her personally tomorrow. And Yanti is also in the back. He's also a representative from Comcast as well, and I'm certain that he'll pass that message on. In addition to following up with Carmen, what the county can do is actually have someone to do a walkout on behalf of the resident. And so we'll document what that density is in that area. And then if a joint walkout needs to happen, we'll do that as well, so that Comcast and the county can both agree to what the density requirement is, and it kind of moves you out of the middle of that, going back and forth, trying to figure out what the density requirements are. And Carmen is the franchise manager, so and I'm not familiar with Ms. Brown, and she may not be familiar with what the density requirements are for this franchise agreement.
Right.
She is.
Oh,
Yes.
Becky is. Okay.
Oh,
Miss-
there's some.
No, I know that Carmen
Oh,
is,
yeah.
but Miss Becky Brown.
Becky Baker.
Baker, sorry, Becky Baker, right.
Yes, yeah, so, I don't, to me, it's not a question. After I brought that to her attention, which kind of sounded like it struck her by surprise, because first she said she didn't know what it was. And then once I brought it to her attention, then she started backpedaling saying, well, you don't have that many residents serviceable. And I said, that's not true. I said, if you go from Mollyberry and you make a right down Candy Hill, there's over 20, 30 houses down the street, you know, and then she looked, I guess she was looking at something and she's seen it, and then, so, you know, still to know nothing was to no avail, like, she was just being evasive. She wanted me just to take what she was offering me, and, you know, as a consumer, I want to do what's in my best interest, and that wasn't.
Okay.
You know, I want to be able to make a well-informed decision.
Sure.
You know, and that's not what I was getting.
So we will follow up with that.
I'll speak to
Okay.
Carmen Brown tomorrow, sir. I'm sorry that she hasn't been responsive, but she has a commanding knowledge of the density requirements in the county. Ms. Baker, I'm not familiar with her. She may not, but Carmen Brown does, and we'll get your pricing sorted out and get a definitive response to you as soon as possible.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments from the?
No.
Okay, thank you. Any other
Yeah, no.
public? No. All right, okay. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the Comcast representative report.
There's no report.
Okay, thank you. And next is the Verizon representative report.
Yeah, there is no report.
No report, thank you. Next on the agenda are comments from the commissioners. Hearing none. Next item is the next agenda item rather is the date for our next meeting is set now for the 16th of December.
16.
16th, yeah, of December. Okay.
There's a question.
Yes, sir.
As it pertains, I'm sorry, one thing slipped my mind. As I was to just ring a bell, as I was talking to Ms. Baker, is it a mile radius or is it a mile worth of cable? Because like first she acted like she didn't know what I was talking about, but once I mentioned that, then she started being, you know, specific, you know, saying that it's 20 houses within a mile worth of cable that they are required to run. It's not 20 houses in a mile radius.
Maybe that's something you could chat with the representative about at the end of the meeting, and we can clarify that for you. That covers the agenda. Is there anything else for the good of the order? If not, thank you all for coming. Thank you, staff, and we will see you on the 16th of December. The meeting is now adjourned.